Three friends, one amazing series of YA novels, an insatiable thirst to relive the glory that is K.A. Applegate's literary masterpiece. This is Animorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
Hello, and welcome to the Dork-Bajir Chronicles, a podcast where we read through the Animorphs series one book at a time, then talk about it every week. Today, however, we won't be talking about a specific book. Instead, inspired by patron Mariah Wamby's enthusiasm for Christmas and the holiday cheer, we're doing a bonus episode where we answer some wintry Animorphs questions. My name is Mikhail, the host.
I'm Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Brayden, the ghost of Animorphs' future?
The way this is going to work is we asked our community what they wanted us to answer in terms of holiday or Christmas related Animorphs questions, and we're just going to take a stab at each one. We're each going to have our own answers, so let's just get into it. First question. This comes from the one and only Mariah Wamby. Which Animorph would win the ugly Christmas sweater competition? Personally, I think it would be Axe. Although I think it would probably also just be by accident, kind of by virtue of him maybe not even understanding the basic premise of the contest. Like, if you think about it, an ugly sweater contest is usually like, what's the ugliest sweater within the parameter of it being a real piece of clothing? He seems to be so disjointed. His understanding of clothing seems to be so removed from what it actually is. I feel like he would just like cake like cow poo or something all over him and like leaves and just be like, look, it's a sweater.
I don't really know. I don't do a lot of like ugly Christmas sweater stuff. Like, I have an ugly Christmas sweater that's basically, it's just a sweater that has Bigfoot on it. All knitted and stuff, and I bought it at a Value Village, but it was one of the Value Village, like, I don't know, fancy Value Village created items. So it was actually $25, and it's not comfortable at all, and I'm probably going to be wearing it to work tomorrow. Well, because we work on Christmas Day. I'm Santa Claus's side chick. Anyway, Rachel. You know what? Rachel would actually do it, like, just grab something, glue a bunch of shit on it, and say that she's done, and it would actually be visually stunning, because we already know Rachel has not just an eye for design. Like, she's always talking about being very pretty and well put together and stuff, but she shops at different stores, and she loves to shop the sales. So you know that she likes to mix patterns and colors and things already. Like, you already know that about her. Obviously means she has a good design eye. She likes to look out for things. The thing that she talked about first with the cat was not only its grace and power. This is way back in book 2. Not only like the grace and power of the cat, how you can balance and all of that, but also the eyesight and how a cat sees movement. Well, Rachel's movement is the movement of clothes on a person's body.
Definitely Cassie, because you know she's got a million fucking like too small or too big sweaters that she has just not had the guts, not had like the social spine to throw out from a million like granola ass aunts.
Next question. This comes from Creepy Stuffed on Instagram, longtime listener. If Axe ate snow, would he get hoof freeze like humans get brain freeze? So this is a good question. A question that probably nobody can really answer because we don't know enough about sort of the anatomy and physiology of andalates. The knowledge that I have also would tell me that, so the way you get brain freeze, as far as I know, as a human, is that the nerves inside your soft and hard palate and your mouth are very sensitive to temperature. And so when you expose it to like a lot of cold, it feels like pain, like going through your head because those nerves are connected to everything in there. I'm sure that's a pretty like rudimentary understanding of it. But basically, if you're eating through your feet, you don't really have the same like nerves super close to the surface, especially for Axe, who's eating through hooves, presumably a very like calloused or hard or not very nerve heavy part of his body. I would say no. So my answer is no. No hoof freeze.
I think, okay, here's the thing with hoof freeze. It would be not quite like a brain freeze. It'd be more like, like a throat pain, but caused by the nerves, definitely. Like, there's spoilers for Brayden if you're re-listening to this. Skip forward about, I don't know, let's say 30 seconds. I'll do this really fast. Okay, so as we know in book 33, when Andalites put their hooves in water, they drink and the thirst in their legs can be quenched. That's a real thing that you can do. I don't know if this is really spoilers, actually, because Tobias morphs an Andalite on the cover of the book. Anyway, so because of that canon already, I feel like we can logically extrapolate that there's definitely some kind of nerves in the legs that would react to water the same way that the nerves in your throat do. Because it's the nerves that send the message whether you're thirsty or not, right?
If Axe ate snow, would he get hoof freeze like humans get brain freeze? No, not near close enough to the brain. Now taint freeze. Almost definitely.
Next question comes from Greg Della Posta, patron of the show. Do Jake and Rachel's Judaism affect their characters? So, I don't know enough about Judaism to not come across as ignorant, so I'm just going to put it out there that this is a pretty basic understanding. I know that Hanukkah happens around the same time as Christmas, so presumably there is a sort of still like a sort of festive cheer if they do practice. The thing is, I feel like at Jake's house, at least, Hanukkah, if they do celebrate it, probably just hasn't been the same since Tom joined the sharing. I mean, he quit the basketball team, probably stopped doing a lot of other family-related stuff. I also think that Jake's family seems to be kind of, I don't know what the word is, but like white enough that they probably do Christmas as well, even if it's just a sort of like symbolic Christmas tree and kind of thing like that. I personally think Rachel, there is like no religious, there's probably no Hanukkah going on. There's probably barely any Christmas going on, honestly, at her house. I do know that with her divorced parents and her pretty successful in terms of career parents, presents are probably a big deal at Rachel's house. And even though she's very good at finding deals and stuff at the mall, she is also very like materialistic in a lot of ways. And I think that probably does get fed a bit at Christmas time.
Honestly, I wish Jake and Rachel's Judaism was like more prevalent in the books. I think it would be, I just wish that they were able to kind of talk about their human selves a little bit more. It's always in relation to work and school. There are a couple scant references to them, like being aware that we live in the society that's like racist, and it has different like cultures and things like that, like how people interact. But because the books are so short, they don't really have time to get into all of that. And I know Catherine has talked in the past about the publishers kind of really tamping down on it and how they wish that they could have done a bit more. It's really fun to think about, though. Like, I've read some posts from Jewish people on the internet about like how they think that this Animorph would celebrate that thing. Specifically Judaism, because we know that Jake is Jewish for sure. I just love fandom.
It's a little awkward in the Christmas special when Visor 3 blasts Santa down over the Atlantic. All the other Animorphs are bawling and screaming. Even Axe, who has converted to Lutheran at this point. And Jake and Rachel are just like, oh, shoot, can we go home now?
This next question comes from @TroidalPower on Twitter. Do Axe and Tobias get invited to someone's house for Christmas, or do they have their own celebration in the woods? That's a good question, actually. My theory, based partly on when Axe went to Marco's dad's place in the TV show, I think that would probably happen at Christmas. For one thing, Marco's house is probably pretty quiet at Christmas, and his dad seems like the kind of person who would like want more people there. Not early Marco's dad, but later Marco's dad would. So I think the invitation is probably totally open. Plus, the TV show showed that Axe would eat anything Marco's dad made, which was bad, typically. So, that's a morale boost for Marco's dad. It's a win-win, basically. Tobias, I honestly think Tobias would just go to Rachel's house in a human morph and just like, oh, this is my friend who like doesn't have Christmas this year. Like, I don't mean this to sound like elitist or anything, but like, there are times where our family has people over just because they don't have family where they are. And sometimes it's nice to be around people who just get along.
Okay, Axe and Tobias have 2 celebrations. They have Axe wakes up in the morning. He does his morning ritual, but he also does a special ritual of Andalite culture where they they celebrate special days. Is something that they do. You know that they definitely have one. Elfangor was bowing to a wish flower when they were wanting his mom to get knocked up by his dad, right? When they wanted his dad to ejaculate something into his mom. Assuming that's what happens in Andalite anatomy, is some kind of ejaculate. Otherwise, what's the point, right? Am I right? Sorry, Braden's not here, so my inner Braden is coming out. Okay, so the celebration starts off. Axe dips his hoof in. It's great. They, Tobias swoops over and kind of has a moment with him. And I feel like they're just kind of there as uncle and nephew, just hanging out. Yeah, we're the outcasts in the woods. Okay, also this, my answer is happening between books, let's say 30 and 40, when the characters know a lot of stuff, or 25 and 40 or something, right? The characters know pretty much everything, and there's not a lot more that they're going to know until things start popping off. So, otherwise my answer would be different. So they're in the woods, they hang out, they watch a Christmas special on TV for sure. Tobias already told Axe about some good ones that he remembers from his childhood. Marco was there helping out too. And they might have pulled the rest of the group. So they got a mix so they can switch through all of the channels and watch a couple Christmas specials. And then at 2:00, they go over to Cassie's house, either in Jake Morph and another Morph, or they go to... I feel like Marco would have the easiest time just inviting random friends over, because he could have them morph Tobias and Axe. Marco's dad has already met Axe, and Tobias has never really interacted with Marco outside of anywhere. Like, Marco didn't even know who he was, whereas Jake recognized him in his host, before he was a hawk, book 1. And in the TV show, he's standing on Rachel's lawn. So... they would definitely be invited over to someone's house. Cassie would do it because, her parents go all out and would almost be grateful there's somebody there to eat up the leftovers, and Marco would have an easy time sneaking them in. And I feel like Marco's almost the type where they would just order in Chinese food, kind of, and then, his dad would surprise him with, this great pie, or, a ham, or something.
Axe and Tobias are street urchins. Y'all know they be picking pockets at the mall and razzing mall Santas.
This next question comes from, once again, patron Mariah Wamby, as well as patron @theslan on Twitter. How much of a disaster would it be for the Animorphs to attempt a Secret Santa gift exchange? Okay. So it's hard for me to say exactly what everyone would get, because there's a lot of permutations here, right? Who gets who, and then that changes what I think they would get for them. I think that regardless of what happens, there's going to be Xena and Hercules stuff thrown around, because that one joke that I loved about Marco and being Hercules and Rachel obviously being Xena. It's bad because my agenda is pretty clear on this, but if Marco and Rachel got each other, especially, and Tobias had to just watch as they opened each other's inside jokey, semi-flirtatious, semi-teasing jokes. But, I know it doesn't work out for Marco and Rachel, but I can dream.
How much of a disaster would it be to attempt a Secret Santa gift? Okay. I feel like it would just be difficult for them to do it secretly, because everybody knows each other so well already. They know each other that well already. When somebody's saved you from dying more times than you can count, what do you get them for? Do you just get them a mug? Oh my god, Marco would just get Jake a best boss ever mug. I feel like Jake would have Axe and would have no idea what to get him, and would just be the clueless dad trying to do something for the clueless uncle, more just trying to do something, and then inevitably he asks Marco, what should I get him? And Marco's just God, just get him $5 at Cinnabon and $5 at Radio Shack, and he's golden. If this was a TV show, not the TV show, but I was just thinking Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where people suddenly get into big wealth, and then Jake is okay, Axe, I'm going to buy you a pinball machine. No, I'm thinking of Bob's Burgers, where he gets the pinball machine. If only these kids had bigger allowances and also did Secret Santa in the book, and then we could have the scene written to us by Catherine and Michael themselves, or a ghostwriter, where Jake just bequeaths a pinball machine onto Axe. Here, Axe, fit this into your flattenable house somehow.
they're all very barely empathetic teens, so they'd either go too hard in the paint and get something too basic, getting Rachel clothes or making Tobias a roost or something, or just encourage each other's worst selves, like getting Axe a bunch of Cinnabon or getting Marco one of those pickup artist books in an era before we all, as a society, realized they were all written by rapists.
This question comes from Mitch from the Wing Talk Radio Show, another podcast on the Collective Legacy Network. What's the worst animal to be stuck in, like as a Nothlet, or maybe not, maybe just like you have to be that more for whatever reason, during Christmas? So just for like, just for like sheer climate reasons, because I'm assuming it's like winter climate that we're talking about Christmas, not like, you know, Texas climate. But Jake's tiger morph, it just would be horribly suited. As far as I know, like the climate that they live in is not particularly warm or cold. I don't know. Come at me on that. Adam, I know you're listening to this, and I know you probably got some corrections on me there.
Okay, what's the worst animal to be stuck in as a morph over Christmas? Like a koala, probably? Because koalas just suck already. Like, as animals, they eat poison all day, and they don't even eat it very well because their teeth eventually fall out and they die of starvation because their teeth aren't protected like rodents are, or like most animals who eat exclusively poison leaves are. And also the poison just makes their brain smooth, and the wrinkles in the brain is what makes you smart. Koalas are just so bad at being animals. It's amazing that they've stuck on so long. So just being stuck as a koala in general would suck. But, like, if you had to be it over Christmas, it's like, what's the point? Am I right?
It's a tie between turkey and pig, just an astronomical rise in the chance of being slaughtered and eaten.
Another question from Creepy Stuffed on Instagram. What would Yeerks give each other as gifts for the holidays? I think palp warmers, keep those little feelers warm. Pool filters for, keep the debris out. Shit's going to fall in there. I also think it would be really interesting if Yeerks could access, like, diaries, whether it's digital, like audio, or beamed into their head somehow, but sort of accounts from other Yeerks of what it's like to take over a different species, like host species. Although I don't know if that really encourages their, like, infest everything mentality, or if that curbs that drive. Either way, I think it would be a good gift for a Yeerk.
I feel like before she got captured, Aftran would have given Esplin Tidwell's Yeerk. No, Esplin is Visser. Ilum is Tidwell's Yeerk. I feel like Aftran would have gotten Ilum, like, some little, like, cozy slippers or something, somehow. And Tidwell would have, if she was in her little girl human morph host. Keep getting those mixed up today. Then she would get, I don't know. What's not creepy for a grown adult man to give a little girl who's 5?
Antidote sets for poisons common to the Imperial subterfuge.
This question comes from Jashikins. What shenanigans would Axe get into at a Christmas party? So it depends on two things, right? One critical thing, which is it a Christmas party where he has to be a human? Like where there are people other than the Animorphs there, or is it a Christmas party where it's just the gang and he can be himself? Because if it's the former where he has to be a human, the obvious answer is food, right? Like, just gonna be uncontrollable. Christmas stuff also typically pretty banging, like finger foods, salt, sugar, fat, the classic things. And there's a lot of people also at Christmas who are just like, I don't know, it's my time to cheat, like whatever, like diets don't count during the holidays, that kind of thing. So yeah, he would just go insane, like there's no question about that. I personally think that, and this would sort of require like the Animorphs aging up a little bit maybe, but can you imagine them as like 17-year-olds and they're just like, Marco's like, oh shit, I got this like bottle of rum out of my dad's liquor cabinet, let's get toasted. And Axe is in his Andalite form, never really I mean, I guess he's got a lot of body mass, so it would take a lot to get him drunk, but let's say he does get drunk and he's trying to show off like tail blade tricks and stuff, and someone just gets super damaged by that, and then of course they just morph back and they're fine, and it's actually really dark, like there's blood splattered on the walls, but everyone's laughing. Yeah, This took a turn, actually.
He was at like an office Christmas party. Like he'd grown up, he's in an office job. He'd just head to the presumably open bar. Somebody would be like, "Oh, you've never done shots before. Let's do it. This is company time. Let's just get fucking drunk." I feel like he would be very like at the same time simultaneously bored and fascinated by the speeches that they always do at those things. If it was a buffet, he would just be continuously going through line and just putting like, he has enough manners now that he's like doing okay. He'd like just put food off the table, put it on his plate and immediately into his mouth, kind of like tap the plate into the mouth, and he would just be circling the buffet the whole time. If it was a junior high Christmas party, that's a different thing because I never went to a Christmas party in junior high. I don't know what he would be doing. Listening to the adults downstairs have a white elephant and just like being sad about it.
Too much eating, obviously. Probably tell some kids that Santa doesn't exist and go hard into detail, not realizing they're bawling their faces off. I'm imagining one or two like horny cousins feeling really, really lonely during the holidays and just laying it all on the only piece in a country mile that isn't related to them, as far as they know.
Here's another one from Mariah Wamby. What are all the Animorphs' favorite Christmas songs? So I had to think about this for a bit, namely just to like remember more than Jingle Bells as far as Christmas songs go. But this is my list, okay? Jake, Jingle Bells. Obviously, super easy to remember, really repetitive, really kind of no real teeth to that song as far as I know. So, very Jake. Marco, definitely a joke version of a song. I think the 12 Days of Christmas is like ripe for joke, like parody versions. Rachel would definitely be the metal version of Carol of the Bells, because that slaps. I mean, if we're getting real, that slaps. Tobias, Baby It's Cold Outside, largely because of the joke of that he lives outside. Cassie, I didn't really know. I had to look up a list of Christmas carols, and I found one called The Friendly Beasts, about the beasts that lived in the manger during the Nativity. I think Axe would just pick the theme song from Young and the Restless because he doesn't understand the question, really.
Marco likes Six White Boomers. Everyone thinks it's because it's funny, but it's actually because he always cries. Like, he tries not to, but if he hears it, he cries just a little bit at the line, there she is, there's my mommy, bounding up and down. And I know this because that's what I do. I love that Christmas song. Marco would have Six White Boomers. Tobias would have Santa Claus is Coming to Town, which, Braden, twinsies. I can't believe you, Mikhail. Baby It's Cold Outside would clearly be Rachel's favorite song, because it's like, I feel like she's the type who'd be like, it's like reminiscent of this old timey thing, and like it almost seems like it's really pretty. It's like almost classy. It's just old timey and so romantic. Jake's favorite Christmas song would be Auld Lang Syne. Now, before the war, if you asked him, he would have said Jingle Bell Rock, exactly in that tone, because he only says that because his dad loves that song. Axe's favorite song would be Jingle Bells, and I think that's because he loves singing it in human form because it's very fast, and because there are so many different versions that you can go through. Like, Batman Smells Robin Laid an Egg, which, like, that's the whole Batman one, which I didn't know was all Batman until just now. I thought the Robin part was just they inserted a bird in there somewhere. I wasn't a comic book fan, okay? What I learned from comics, I learned from reading Animorphs. Cassie's favorite Christmas song would be Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but only the one version where it's just like a jovial old man children's entertainer, like a Fred Penner type, or like if Bob Ross sang kids music, like a Rudolph, like it's really calm, not a lot of background no background vocals, and not a lot of background music. She doesn't like the really loud stuff, and also it's the one cover you don't really hear that often, so you don't get sick of it. She worked a retail gig at the Gardens for a bit, several summers, and oh my god, it's the worst. Is that everybody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Perfect.
Jake, Greensleeves. Marco, Jingle Bells, Batman Smells. Rachel, Jeremy Jason McColl's Christmas album, Eggnog with JJ. Tobias, Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Cassie actually hates Christmas music. Not that much of a nerd. Axe, that one Australian Christmas song, for some reason it reminds him of home.
Here's another one from @TroidalPower on Twitter. Are the free Hork-Bajir horrified by the idea of Christmas trees? See, I thought about this for a bit because obviously Hork-Bajir eat trees, but they sort of also keep them alive in a way, at least on their home planet they did. I do feel like they would be kind of into it. I never really got the sense that they thought all trees were sacred. I think like things like the speaking tree, hint, speaking tree, that's the name of our show, was sacred. And there were a few other sacred trees. But I feel like a Christmas tree, if they decorated it with like pine cones and stuff, it would just be seen as like a cool meal to have like after the celebrations. Like this really gussy, like a gingerbread house, but for Hork-Bajir.
Okay, no, I doubt they'd be horrified. It'd be more like, this is a celebration. Yeah, you bring the tree into the place where there is no trees because trees are awesome, especially these ones because their leaves never fall off, which is also a concept that's new to us. Oh my god. The free Hork-Bajir are in for a ride once the snow falls. And then it's like a snack. You like lying in bed, but you really want bark and you don't want to go out there and get it. Just like eat it. Like it turns into jerky. It is great. It's fine. I don't think they decorate it. But like they're totally into it. This is awesome.
They eat that stuff, homie. They fucking get it.
Another one from Creepy Stuffed on Instagram. Does the sharing have a Christmas party every year? Yes. I think they do. And that's just the first part. I think what they do at the Christmas party is maybe a better question. Party games. My favorite one, I was like, what's a good Yeerk party game? What's a good like downtime Yeerk game, right? Because even they fucking trenches in World War I, they played games at Christmas. So the best Yeerk game I could come up with is, what if like this is going to get dark, just warning you. The Yeerk pops out of their host's head, goes into another host's head. Oh, okay. Oh no, it would have to be like they pick a random host that they know the Yeerk that goes in there, but nobody else knows. And then they have to make the host act like they would if their original host owner was there. That's kind of complicated, I guess, but it's sort of like charades, only the darker version of it. So here, just take this as an example. So Yeerk slithers into a host's body that's not his out of the Yeerk pool. And he stands up and stands in front of the pool and he's like, I love the Human Wheel of Fortune program, and I always shirk my host's showering schedule. And then there's a big yell from the pool, like, oh shit, oh, I know who it is, I know who it is. And one guy screamed, oh, that's gotta be Lawspin 5741. He never showers. It's so gross. And then, depending on whether that's the correct guess or not, that Yeerk's turn is now next, the one that guessed it. And then, I don't know, points or something. It could just be a party game for fun. The dark part is where the Yeerk comes out of the host's head and starts screaming while all the other Yeerks are like celebrating and stuff. Yeah.
Okay, does the sharing have a Christmas party? Okay. The sharing actually is not the Yeerks. The sharing is the people who are the Yeerks and they're pretending not to be Yeerks. Like they're pretending that Yeerks don't exist, right? Come on, Mikhail. They have several Christmas events that they do. They help out with the town soup kitchen to give out free food because of course they do. Some of them, like there's a big gift drive. There's a food bank drive. They're volunteering at the local ice carving. They're doing all that kind of community stuff. And then on Christmas, there's actually volunteers who are in the sharing like buildings that they obviously own, holding a Christmas party for anybody who just wants to come pop in and have some snacks. And they have little games. Like it's just a little community center thing. And it would be really nice, except that if they talk to you there, that's where they foster relationships. That's where they invite you to come back. That's where they ask if you want to become a senior member.
Does the sharing have a Christmas party every year? Yes. And it's actually the one time of year they don't go ham and try to grab a bunch of innocent people. The logic was that too many people would be hyper vigilant about like kids missing for any length of time this part of the year. But because of that, it's turned into a sort of de facto holiday for the Yeerk as well.
Last question. What book would each Animorph give Axe for Christmas? I think Jake would give him like an encyclopedia or something like just practical and not flashy or anything. I think Marco, in an attempt to like sort of in any way, shape, or form, Cassie would give him some kind of bestiary book. Is bestiary the word? The one where it basically goes over like all the animals that would live in a certain ecology that you could see if you were like watching wildlife and stuff. And it would be obviously for the forest that they are in, like that type of forest. Rachel would give Axe Ripley's Believe It or Not, 2018, partly to intimidate him with all the like crazy shit in there, or like make him impressed, I guess, not intimidate him. Partly maybe also to challenge him to beat some of those things. I don't know. Tobias would give Axe a John Grisham novel, not because Tobias likes John Grisham or that he thinks Axe would like John Grisham. It's just that they're fucking everywhere and would be pretty easy to steal as a hawk. Like, those things are everywhere. I'm sure they got ghostwriters going on the John Grisham shit. Definitely.
Tobias would get Axe. He'd have saved it from over the summer when somebody sitting in the park reading one of the newest bestsellers. He would have just noticed like somebody was reading a hot bestseller or something, and then they go to the bathroom or they just leave the book for a second. He nabs it and has one of the other Animorphs hide it all year until it's time for Christmas, and then he gives it to him. So it's kind of a crap bag. Sorry, I mean the word is crap shoot, is it not? I apologize. So it's kind of a crapshoot what kind of book it's going to be, but they're typically like actiony or thrillery or like, you know, in the Gone Girl vein. Marco would get him a joke book for sure. Just like a collection of very specific joke books. So Marco would get him a very specific joke book, like 201 jokes for plumbers of southwestern Idaho, you know, like something super pinpointed like that. And almost in the same vein, Cassie would get him chicken soup for the camper soul or something else like that. Like something just, I feel like a chicken soup book would be good because she's like, yeah, it's good. He can learn about human nature and things, foster his human empathy. I feel like Rachel would get him this book about war, like not just about the war, but like an interesting book about war that talks about, I haven't actually read any of them, but the covers seem really cool, as well as the descriptions, such as like The Spy I Knew, or whatever it was called. There's this, it's like the Cold War, and there's this guy, and he's got a best friend. Or it's not the Cold War, but it's just after the Cold War, the 80s. Or no, the Cold War was Russia. I was thinking the Cold War was just Cuba, but that's just where Russia planted the nukes. Missiles. So Cold War, and there's a guy who's friend, and they work in the government together, and the friend is from Russia. He's a Russian spy, he finds out. And so this thing is like an interview, he's him talking with the guy, and then interviews with other people he knows, and it's like, oh my god, did you know he was a spy? And they're like, no! And you gotta wonder how much of that's true, but I don't know, I've heard really good things about it. I haven't read it yet, but it's kind of on my, like, the middle of my to-do list. Not super high, but it's there. What's it called? I'm trying to remember. You know what book Jake would give him? Jake would give him Jake's childhood copy of White Fang that he had since he was 11. And, well, no, they're 11. They're almost 11 when they start. He had since he was like 10 when he started reading. I don't know. What age do kids read like really, you know, kind of challenging material like that? Not challenging and like it's difficult, but like it's a bunch of words in White Fang, not ones that you typically read in kids' literature. I don't know. Anyway, it would be that. Some book from his childhood.
I realize now I answered this one wrong, but I don't want to go back, so I just wrote what generic gifts I thought they would give him. Jake would give him a Swiss Army knife for living in the wild. Marco, one of those pickup artist books that he doesn't have the emotional intelligence to realize is super rapey. Rachel, switch knife. Also for wood survival, but clearly with a less utilitarian slant. Cassie, a mixtape. 9 Inch Nails is on there. Tobias, his favorite shirt that he grabbed from his raggedy-ass old house. Probably some band he only saw once, but that changed his life.
And that's it for the Christmas special. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We'll be back New Year's Eve, so that will be December 31st, with our discussion of Animorphs number 29, The Sickness, a very good Cassie book. And I suggest you make your New Year's resolution to listen to that and listen to all our back catalog episodes. Thanks to everyone who's been supporting us for the past, year and a half of making this show. We love you guys. We love that we can ask the day of a recording, give me your Animorphs Christmas questions and get hit with more than I could even fit into this episode. So keep it up. We're glad to have you, and we're glad to be here. For the Fanimorphs, my name is Mikhail, the host.
I am Tessa, the expert.
And I'm Brayden. Happy holidays.
And this has been a very special Christmas episode of Fanimorphs, the Dork-Bajir Chronicles.
The Christmas edition! Pew, 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 pew.
Brought to you by
Collective Legacy,
a podcast network.